Ms. Thorne, we have your appointment scheduled for Thursday at 9 a.m. You'll need someone to drive you home afterwards. Do you have any questions about the procedure? The phone trembles against Alara's ear as she stands in the cramped bathroom of the Red Moon Lounge, her free hand pressed against the cold tile wall for support. Outside, the lunch rush roars on without her. Clinking glasses, laughter, the endless demands of customers who don't see her as human, just as someone who brings their food and disappears. But right now, none of that matters. Right now, her entire world narrows to the clinical voice on the other end of the line. Alara closes her eyes, and a single tear traces down her cheek. No. No questions. I'll be there. And you're certain this is what you want? We ask all our patients to... Yes. The word comes out sharper than she intends. She softens her voice, trying to keep it steady. Yes, I'm certain. Terminate it. He cannot know about this baby. Before we continue, please prove my mom wrong. She says I can't hit 1,000 subscribers. Okay, let's continue. She doesn't hear the bathroom door open. Doesn't sense the presence that has gone absolutely utterly still just beyond the stall. Doesn't know that every word has been heard by the one person in the entire world she would have given anything to keep this from. Lysander Moreau stands frozen in the doorway of what he'd thought was a supply closet, his preternatural hearing having caught every syllable, every heartbreaking inflection. The king of the Eastern bloodline, CEO of Moreau Industries, a vampire who has walked the earth for 3 centuries. And in this moment he feels more helpless than he ever has in his immortal life. She's pregnant with his child, and she's going to... His hand clenches on the doorframe, and the wood splinters beneath his fingers. 3 months earlier, Alara had been certain of exactly 2 things: that her life was going nowhere, and that she was completely invisible to everyone who mattered. At 47, she'd made peace with invisibility. Her ex-husband had left her for a younger woman 5 years ago, taking most of their savings and all of her confidence. The waitressing job at the Red Moon Lounge paid enough to cover her tiny apartment, and not much else. Her daughter was away at college, the one bright spot in Alara's life. And Alara was determined that May would never know how close to broke her mother really was. The lounge catered to an exclusive clientele, the kind of people who wore watches that cost more than Alara's annual salary, who spoke in hushed tones about deals and mergers, and things she couldn't begin to understand. She'd been working there for 2 years, and had perfected the art of being present without being seen, until the night Lysander Moreau walked in. She'd noticed him immediately. Impossible not to. He moved like darkness given form, all leonine grace in an impeccably tailored black suit. His hair was dark as midnight, swept back from a face that looked carved from marble. Sharp cheekbones, a mouth that could have inspired poetry, and eyes. God, those eyes, the color of aged whiskey. Golden and ancient and burning with something she couldn't name. He'd taken his usual corner table, the one that was always kept reserved, always empty, waiting for him. Alara had drawn the short straw and ended up as his server. Her hands had shaken as she approached. "Good evening. Can I start you with something to drink?" He'd looked up at her, and the world had tilted on its axis. Those eyes had moved over her face with an intensity that made her skin prickle. Not the dismissive glance she was used to, not the way men usually looked through her like she was part of the furniture. He looked at her like he saw her. Really saw her. Red wine. His voice was deep, textured like crushed velvet. "And whatever you recommend for dinner. I trust your judgment." No one ever trusted her judgment. No one ever asked what she thought. "The duck is exceptional tonight," she'd heard herself say. "Chef Marcus does it with a cherry reduction that's, well, it's worth the price." A smile had ghosted across his lips, transforming his austere face into something almost warm. "Then I'll have that. Thank you, Alara." She'd frozen. Her name tag had fallen off 3 days ago, and she hadn't replaced it yet. "How did you... I make it my business to know the names of people who interest me." He'd held her gaze a moment longer, then returned his attention to the tablet in front of him, a clear dismissal. But Alara had walked back to the kitchen with her heart hammering in her chest like a trapped bird, like she was 20 again instead of 47, like possibility was something that still existed in her world. He'd come back every Tuesday and Friday for 6 weeks. Always the same table, always asking for her recommendations, always leaving a tip that was more than generous, verging on absurd. They'd talked, brief exchanges that had gradually lengthened. She'd learned he ran some kind of technology company. He'd learned she had a daughter in college studying biochemistry. "You must be proud," he'd said one evening, and the way he'd looked at her, like her pride mattered, like she mattered, had made her throat tight. "I am. She's the best thing I've ever done." "I don't doubt it." He'd paused, swirling the wine in his glass with long, elegant fingers. "Though I suspect you're selling yourself short. You strike me as someone who's survived things that would have broken a lesser person." The observation had been so unexpected, so accurate that Alara had found herself blinking back tears. No one saw her. No one bothered to look past the uniform and the apologetic smile and the careful way she made herself small. But Lysander Moreau saw her. It had happened on a Friday night, 2 months into their strange, charged connection. The restaurant had closed, but Alara's car wouldn't start. She'd been standing in the parking lot, phone pressed to her ear, listening to the mechanic tell her it would cost $800 to fix. $800 she didn't have. Not with May's textbook bill due and rent coming up. She'd hung up and pressed her forehead against the car window, trying very hard not to cry, when a voice behind her had said, "Car trouble?" She'd turned to find Lysander standing there, his suit jacket draped over one arm, looking utterly unbothered by the late hour or the cold October wind. "It's nothing. I'll figure it out." "I can catch the bus. Don't be absurd. I'll drive you home." "I couldn't possibly. Alara." He'd stepped closer, and she'd caught his scent. Something crisp and woodsy, like pine forests and winter nights. "Please, let me help you." There had been something in his voice, almost vulnerable, like her acceptance mattered to him. So she'd nodded, and he'd guided her to a sleek black car that probably cost more than her entire life, and driven her to her shabby apartment complex with its flickering lights and cracked pavement. He'd walked her to her door. She'd turned to thank him, and found him watching her with an expression she couldn't read. Hunger. Longing. Something desperate and barely restrained. "Ilara," he'd said, her name rough on his tongue. "I shouldn't—" He'd stopped, jaw clenching. "You have no idea what you do to me." She should have been frightened. Should have stepped back, made excuses, gone inside and locked the door. Instead, she'd heard herself whisper, "Show me." He'd kissed her like a man dying of thirst who'd finally found water. Like she was air and he'd been drowning. His mouth had been cool against hers, and something about that detail had seemed important. But then his hands had framed her face with a gentleness that made her want to weep, and she'd stopped thinking entirely. They'd stumbled into her apartment, shedding clothes between fevered kisses. He'd been devastatingly beautiful in the moonlight streaming through her window, all lean muscle and pale skin. And when he'd looked at her 47-year-old body with its stretch marks and softness, he'd looked at her like she was a goddess. "You're exquisite," he'd breathed against her throat. "Perfect. Mine." That last word should have alarmed her. Instead, it had sent heat pooling low in her belly. Yes, something in her had answered. Yours. The night had been transcendent. He'd touched her like she was precious. Like every gasp and moan she made was a symphony he was composing. He'd been cool everywhere. His skin, his mouth, his fingers. But the pleasure had burned hot enough to incinerate her. Afterwards, he'd held her against his chest, his fingers tracing idle patterns on her shoulder. She'd pressed her ear to his sternum and frowned. "Your heartbeat is so slow." He'd gone still. "I have a condition. Rare blood disorder. Nothing dangerous." She'd accepted the explanation because she'd wanted to, because the alternative was climbing out of bed and ending whatever this was. and she hadn't been ready for it to end. He'd left before dawn, kissing her forehead with something that felt like regret. "I'll see you Tuesday." But Tuesday had come and gone without him. So had Friday, and the next Tuesday. Her calls went to voicemail. The restaurant hostess told her Mr. Moreau had canceled his standing reservation. He was gone, and Alara had told herself she'd been a fool to think one night could mean anything to a man like that. Then, 3 weeks later, she'd thrown up her breakfast, and her lunch, and realized with dawning horror that her period was late. Very late. The pregnancy test had shown 2 pink lines, bright as accusation. At 47. Pregnant. By a man who'd disappeared without a trace. She'd spent 2 weeks in a fog of denial and panic. She'd researched her options until her eyes burned. She'd cried until she had no tears left. And finally, she'd made the only choice that made sense. She couldn't have this baby. She couldn't afford it. Couldn't raise another child alone. Couldn't trap Lysander with a pregnancy he'd never wanted. He'd made his position clear by vanishing from her life. So she'd made the appointment. And now, standing in the bathroom of the Red Moon Lounge with the receptionist's voice in her ear, she says the words that she thinks will end it. Yes, terminate it. He cannot know about this baby. The line goes dead. Alara lowers the phone with shaking hands and allows herself one more moment of grief for the life she'll never meet, the possibility she's letting go. Then she wipes her eyes, straightens her uniform, and reaches for the door handle. It opens before she can touch it. Lysander stands there, and his face is a mask of devastation. "Ilara," he says, and his voice breaks on her name. "What have I done?" She tries to back away, but the bathroom is small, and there's nowhere to go. "What are you? You can't be in here. I heard you." He steps inside and closes the door, and God, he takes up so much space, fills the tiny room with his presence. Every word. The blood drains from her face. "You were listening to my private." "I thought this was a supply closet. I was looking for—" He stops, shakes his head like it doesn't matter. "Ilara, you're pregnant, with my child." "That's none of your concern." She lifts her chin, trying to find some scrap of dignity. "You made that clear when you disappeared." Pain flashes across his face. "I left to protect you." "Protect me? From what?" "From me." His hands clench at his sides. "From what I am." "And what are you, besides a coward who takes what he wants and runs?" The words hang in the air between them. Lysander flinches like she's struck him. "You're right," he says quietly. "You're absolutely right. But Alara, please, don't do this. Don't end the pregnancy." "Why not?" Anger rises in her throat, hot and acidic. "So you can disappear again? So I can raise another child alone while you pretend we don't exist?" "No." He moves closer, and she can feel the cold radiating from his body. That strange chill she'd noticed before. "So I can be there. So I can give you everything. You and our child. I don't want your money. I'm not talking about money." He reaches for her hand, hesitates, lets his hand fall. "I'm talking about me, my life, my protection, everything I am." She laughs, but it comes out broken. "You don't even know me. One night doesn't mean—" "I've been watching you for 6 months, Alara. I came to the restaurant every week because I couldn't stay away. I left because I was terrified I'd hurt you, terrified you'd discover what I am and hate me for it." His voice drops to barely a whisper. "But I never stopped thinking about you. Not for one moment." Her anger wavers. "What you are? What does that mean?" He looks at her for a long moment, and something shifts in his eyes. They catch the fluorescent light and glow, actually glow, with an amber luminescence that isn't human. "I'm a vampire," he says simply. "King of the Eastern bloodline. I've been alive for 312 years, and you, Alara Thorne, are my mate." The world tilts. She grabs the sink for support. That's insane. Vampires aren't—" He opens his mouth and she sees them. Fangs, sharp and white and utterly real. Oh my God! Her knees buckle. He catches her before she hits the ground, lifting her effortlessly. His arms are solid and cool around her, and his scent, pine and winter and something darker, surrounds her. Breathe, he murmurs against her hair. Just breathe, I've got you. This isn't real. I'm hallucinating. The stress. It's real. He carries her to the closed toilet lid and sits, cradling her in his lap like she weighs nothing. I'm real. What we shared was real. And the child you're carrying, our daughter, she's real. Daughter? The word comes out faint. I can hear her heartbeat. Faster than yours, steady and strong. She's healthy, Alara. Perfect. Tears spill down Alara's cheeks. I can't do this. I can't raise a vampire baby alone. I don't even know what that means. You won't be alone. His hand comes up to cup her face, thumb brushing away her tears with infinite gentleness. Never alone. I'll be there for every moment, every feeding, every tantrum, every milestone. I'll give you a home, protection, anything you need. Why? She searches his face, this impossibly beautiful creature holding her like she's something precious. Why do you care? Because you're mine, he says, and the raw possession in his voice should terrify her, but instead sends warmth flooding through her chest. Because from the moment I saw you, I knew. You're my mate, Alara. The one person in all my centuries who makes me feel alive. And I will burn the world to ash before I let anyone hurt you or our child. They talk for an hour, tucked away in that tiny bathroom while the restaurant operates around them. He tells her about vampire society, the bloodlines, the politics, the danger. He tells her about mate bonds, how vampires recognize their perfect match by scent and instinct, how rare and precious it is. I should have told you that night, he says, his fingers threading through her hair in a gesture so tender it makes her ache. I should have been honest. But I was selfish. I wanted one night where you looked at me like I was just a man, not a monster. You're not a monster. The words surprise her, but she realizes they're true. This creature holding her, protecting her, begging her to keep their child, there's nothing monstrous about him. Many would disagree. His smile is bitter. I've killed Alara. I've done things in the name of protecting my people that would make you sick. Have you killed innocent people? He hesitates. No. Only those who threatened my bloodline or broke our laws. Then you did what you had to do. She reaches up to touch his face, and he leans into her palm like a cat seeking affection. We all have things in our past we're not proud of. There's something else you need to know. His expression turns grave. If you choose to keep the child, if you choose me, you'll be marked as mine. Other vampires will know you're under my protection, but it also makes you a target. There are those who would use you to get to me. Fear whispers through her. What kind of target? I have enemies, rival bloodlines who would love to see me weakened. Alara, I need you to understand. Being with me puts you in danger. She should walk away, should run. Instead, she asks, can you turn me? Make me like you? Surprise flashes across his face. Yes. But the transformation is painful, and there's no guarantee you'd survive. Most humans don't. But our daughter will be Dhampir, half vampire, half human. Strong, fast, long-lived, but able to walk in daylight. She'll be extraordinary. His hand drifts down to rest on Alara's still flat stomach. Like her mother. The tenderness in his voice undoes her. She spent so many years feeling invisible, worthless, used up. And here is this powerful, ancient being looking at her like she's everything. I'm scared, she whispers. I know, I'm scared too. He presses his forehead to hers. But I swear to you, Alara, I will protect you both with everything I have. You'll want for nothing. You'll never be alone, or afraid again. I don't want your money. I want you to mean it. I want you to stay." "I'll stay." He kisses her forehead, her eyelids, her cheeks. "I'll stay forever if you'll let me." It's insane. Impossible. She should say no, should walk out this door and never look back. Instead, she says, "Okay." The next 2 months are a fever dream. Lysander moves her into his penthouse, a sprawling space at the top of the tallest building in the city, all floor-to-ceiling windows and dark, expensive furniture. He brings in doctors, both human and vampire, who assure her the pregnancy is progressing normally. He hires security, stern-faced men and women who watch from the shadows, but never intrude. He's there for everything. The morning sickness, which he soothes by bringing her ginger tea and crackers, sitting on the bathroom floor beside her while she retches. The ultrasound that confirms their daughter is healthy and growing perfectly. The night she wakes up crying because she's terrified of being a mother again, afraid she'll fail this child the way she sometimes feels she failed May. "You didn't fail May," he tells her, holding her in the dark. "She's brilliant and kind and strong because of you, and you won't fail our daughter either. I won't let you." He takes her shopping for maternity clothes, and when the saleswoman makes a snide comment about older mothers, Lysander's eyes flash gold, and he asks in a voice like cut glass if she'd like to repeat that. The woman pales and stammers an apology. In the car afterwards, Alara laughs until she cries. "You can't threaten people for being rude." "I absolutely can. I'm a vampire king." But he's grinning, looking more boyish than ancient. Besides, no one insults what's mine. There it is again. That possessive claim that should bother her, but instead makes her feel safe, cherished, protected. He introduces her to his world gradually. First, his second-in-command, a vampire named Soren who looks at Alara with frank curiosity, and then bows, and says, "Your Majesty, the king has chosen well." I'm not a queen or anything," Alara protests. "You're carrying the king's heir," Soren says gently. "That makes you royalty whether you claim the title or not. Then come the other bloodline leaders, powerful vampires who rule their own territories. They meet at a formal dinner in Lysander's penthouse, and Alara wears a dress he bought her, deep green silk that drapes over her small baby bump. She's terrified, certain these ancient beings will see her as beneath them. Instead, they treat her with deference that borders on reverence. "The king hasn't taken a mate in 2 centuries, one of them tells her, a woman named Celestine with silver hair and knowing eyes. We'd begun to think he never would. Your daughter will unite bloodlines that have been fractured for generations." "How?" Alara asks. Celestine smiles. "Because she'll be proof that love still exists, even for creatures like us. That's more powerful than any political alliance. But not everyone is pleased." Alara first meets Dante Volturi at a bloodline gathering 6 weeks after she moved in with Lysander. She's 3 months pregnant now, the bump starting to show. And Lysander keeps her close at the formal dinner, his hand a constant presence at her lower back. Dante is beautiful in the way poisonous things are beautiful, pale as snow, with black hair and eyes like chips of ice. He runs the Western bloodline and has, according to Soren, been angling for a political alliance with Lysander for decades. So this is the human who's captured our king's heart. Dante's gaze rakes over Alara with barely concealed contempt. "How quaint. Dante." Lysander's voice drops to a dangerous purr. "You will show respect to my mate." "Of course," but Dante's smile is all edges. "I'm simply surprised. I had thought you'd choose someone more appropriate to your station." "You mean someone younger," Alara says, surprising herself with her boldness. "Someone you could manipulate." Dante's eyes narrow. "I mean someone with the strength to survive in our world. You're human, fragile. How long before you break under the weight of what Lysander is? Longer than you'd hope, I imagine." She meets his gaze steadily, refusing to look away first. For a moment, no one speaks. Then Lysander laughs, a genuine sound of delight. I told you she was magnificent. Later, in the privacy of their bedroom, Lysander pulls her into his arms. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have exposed you to that viper. Is he dangerous? Potentially. Lysander's jaw clenches. He wanted an alliance through marriage, his daughter to me. I refused. He sees you as an obstacle. Fear threads through her. What will he do? Nothing. He knows if he touches you, I'll destroy him and every vampire under his command. He cups her face, forcing her to look at him. You're under my protection, Alara. No one will hurt you. She wants to believe him. She does believe him. But some instinct, some woman's intuition honed by years of navigating a world that underestimates her, whispers that Dante Volturi is a threat she shouldn't ignore. The phone call comes on a Tuesday morning when Alara is 4 months pregnant. She's in the kitchen making breakfast. Lysander hovers constantly, insisting she eat more, rest more, when her cell rings. Unknown number. Hello? Alara Thorne? A woman's voice, crisp and professional. Yes? This is Angela Morrison from the National Enquirer. We've heard some interesting rumors about you and Lysander Moreau. Care to comment? Alara's blood turns to ice. I don't know what you're talking about. Come now, Miss Thorne. You're living in his penthouse. You've been seen at several exclusive events, and sources say you're pregnant with his child. A pause. That must have been quite a coup for a woman your age, landing one of the city's most eligible bachelors. The words hit like a slap. Alara sinks into a chair. I have nothing to say to you. What about the fact that Mr. Moreau is a vampire, that you're carrying a half-human child? Our source was very detailed about... Alara hangs up, her hands shaking so badly the phone clatters on the table. Lysander appears in the doorway instantly, moving with that preternatural speed. What happened? She tells him, the words tumbling out. His expression goes from concerned to absolutely murderous. Dante! He growls. It has to be. He's trying to expose us. What do? We go public first, on our terms. He kneels in front of her, taking her hands. Alara, I was going to wait, but I want to make this official. I want the world to know you're mine. Official how? He pulls a small box from his pocket. Inside is a ring, a band of platinum set with a stone that glows with inner fire, red as blood, beautiful and strange. This is a bloodstone, worn by the mates of vampire kings for millennia. Will you marry me, Alara Thorne? Will you be my queen, rule at my side? Let me spend eternity proving I'm worthy of you? She stares at the ring, at this impossible man, at the life he's offering. Yes, she whispers. Yes. He slides the ring onto her finger, and it warms against her skin, pulsing with a gentle heat. Then he kisses her, and she tastes forever in his touch. The press conference happens 3 days later. Lysander's PR team works around the clock to arrange it. The grand ballroom of Moreau Tower is packed with journalists, cameras, curious onlookers. Alara stands backstage in a dress of midnight blue, the bloodstone ring prominent on her finger, Lysander's hand firm around hers. You don't have to do this, he murmurs. We can still slip away, disappear. No. She turns to look at him. No more hiding. I'm not ashamed of us, or our daughter. Pride flashes in his eyes. My fierce mate. They walk out together to a barrage of camera flashes. Lysander steps up to the microphone, and the room falls silent. When he speaks, his voice carries absolute authority. I've called you here today to make an announcement. Alara Thorne has agreed to be my wife. She's carrying my child, a daughter who will be born in 5 months. And I want to make one thing perfectly clear to everyone watching. He turns to Alara, and the tenderness in his expression makes her throat tight. This woman is under my protection. She is my mate, my queen, the mother of my heir. Anyone who threatens her, speaks ill of her, or attempts to harm her in any way will answer to me personally. I don't care if you're human or vampire, press or politician. Touch what's mine, and I will destroy you. The room erupts in questions, but Lysander ignores them. He pulls Alara into his arms and kisses her in front of every camera, every journalist, every person who ever made her feel small or worthless or invisible. When they finally break apart, he keeps her tucked against his side and addresses the room again. Now, I believe you have questions, but first, let me introduce you properly to the future queen of the Eastern bloodline. He gestures to Alara, his eyes glowing gold with pride. The strongest, most remarkable woman I've ever known. The questions come fast and furious. Mr. Moreau, is it true you're a vampire? Lysander smiles, letting his fangs show. I am, as are most of my board members. We've been hiding in plain sight for centuries, but recent events have made it clear that secrecy is no longer sustainable. So yes, vampires are real. And before you ask, no, we don't turn into bats. We can walk in daylight with precautions, and we're not interested in draining humans dry. We have ethical blood sources. Ms. Thorne, how do you feel about being pregnant with a half-vampire child? Alara steps forward, and Lysander's hand moves to support her lower back. I'm honored, terrified. Excited. All the things any mother feels. My daughter will be extraordinary, strong, unique, loved beyond measure. What more could I want for her? But you're, forgive me, older than most first-time mothers. I'm 47, Alara says clearly, and I'm not a first-time mother. I have a 22-year-old daughter who's brilliant and kind. Age doesn't make me less capable of love or motherhood. It makes me more prepared, actually. I know what I'm doing this time. Lysander's hand tightens on her waist, a silent message of support. Mr. Moreau, there are rumors that Dante Volturi is unhappy about this union. Dante Volturi can take his unhappiness and choke on it. Lysander's voice turns cold. He has no say in my choice of mate. No one does. More questions, more answers. They stand there for an hour, facing down every doubt and criticism and invasive query. And through it all, Lysander never lets go of her. His presence is a constant, solid, protective, claiming her for the entire world to see. Finally, a journalist in the back calls out, Ms. Thorne, some people are saying you're just a gold digger, that you trapped Mr. Moreau with a pregnancy. How do you respond? Alara feels the old shame trying to surface, the voice that tells her she's not good enough, not young enough, not anything enough. But then she feels Lysander's hand on her back, feels the weight of the bloodstone ring on her finger, and she thinks of their daughter growing inside her. She lifts her chin. I respond by saying I don't care what those people think. I didn't trap anyone. Lysander chose me, knowing exactly who and what I am. A middle-aged waitress with stretch marks and student loan debt and a used car. He chose me anyway. Or rather, he chose me because of those things, because I've lived and survived, and know my own worth. If that makes me a gold digger, then the term has lost all meaning. The room falls silent. Then someone starts clapping. Then another person. Within moments, half the room is applauding. Lysander pulls her close and whispers against her ear, Have I mentioned you're magnificent? She laughs, giddy with relief and triumph. Once or twice. That night back in the penthouse, Alara stands at the window, looking out over the city lights. Lysander comes up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist, his hands splaying over the bump that's their daughter. Are you all right? He asks quietly. I'm perfect. And she means it. For the first time in years, maybe in her entire life, she feels perfect. Not in spite of her age or her circumstances, but because of them. Because they led her here, to this moment, to this impossible love. She's kicking, Lysander murmurs, wonder in his voice. I can feel her. Can you really hear her heartbeat? Always. It's like a drum, steady and strong. She's going to be fierce, Alara. Like her mother. She turns in his arms, looking up at this ancient creature who's given her everything. Protection. Love. A future she never dared imagine. I love you, she says. I don't think I've said that yet, but I do. I love you." His eyes flash gold, and his expression crumbles into something raw and vulnerable. "I've loved you since the first moment I saw you. Every Tuesday, every Friday. I'd come to that restaurant just to hear your voice, to catch your scent. You were patient with difficult customers, kind to the kitchen staff, exhausted but smiling. I saw your strength, your grace, and I wanted to fall at your feet and beg you to be mine. You should have just asked me out like a normal person." He laughs, the sound rich and warm. "Where would be the drama in that?" She kisses him then, pouring everything she feels into it, gratitude and love and desperate hope that this isn't a dream, that she gets to keep this, keep him. When they finally break apart, he rests his forehead against hers. "Marry me tomorrow." "Tomorrow? Why wait? I want you as my wife, my queen. I want the world to know you're mine in every way that matters." His hand cups her face. "Marry me, Alara. Let me give you forever." Forever is a long time. Not nearly long enough. He kisses her again, soft and sweet. "After the baby is born, after you've recovered, I can turn you if you want. Make you vampire, give you centuries at my side, but only if you choose it. I'll love you just as fiercely as a human, for however many years you have." The offer sits between them, precious and terrifying. Immortality. Eternity with this man who sees her, loves her, claims her. "Ask me again after she's born," Alara says finally, "when I'm not pregnant and hormonal and making life-changing decisions. Practical as always." But he's smiling. "Though for the record, I think you're perfect when you're pregnant and hormonal." Liar. "I don't lie. I'm a vampire king. I don't have to." She laughs and pulls him toward the bedroom. "Come on, Your Majesty. Show me what else vampire kings don't have to do." His answering grin is wicked. "With pleasure, my queen." 5 months later, Alara goes into labor on a Tuesday morning. Lysander, who has faced down rival bloodlines and political coups without flinching, looks absolutely terrified as he rushes her to the private medical facility they've arranged. The vampire doctors are calm and efficient, assuring them everything is progressing normally. But labor is hard. Painful. Alara grips Lysander's hand so tightly, she feels bones grind, and he doesn't even flinch. Just keeps whispering encouragements, pressing cool cloths to her forehead, telling her she's strong, she's brave, she's everything. 23 hours later, their daughter enters the world with a wail that makes the lights flicker. She's perfect, tiny and pink, with wisps of dark hair and eyes that already glow with amber light. When the doctor places her on Alara's chest, the baby stops crying and looks up at her mother with ancient awareness. "Hello, little one," Alara whispers, tears streaming down her face. "I'm your mama." Lysander leans over them both, and his expression is pure wonder. "She's perfect. You're both perfect." "What should we name her?" Alara asks. He's quiet for a moment, his finger gently stroking their daughter's impossibly soft cheek. "Aurora. It means dawn, because she's the beginning of everything new for us. Aurora Moreau." Alara tests the name and smiles. It's perfect. They stay like that for hours, wrapped in a cocoon of new family, while outside the sun sets and rises again. And when May finally arrives from college, bursting into the room with tears of joy. When she holds her baby sister and laughs at how Aurora's eyes glow, Alara thinks maybe fairy tales do exist after all, just not the kind she expected. 6 months later, on a crisp autumn evening, Alara and Lysander marry in the penthouse, surrounded by humans and vampires alike. She wears white because she wants to, because she's earned the right to start over, to claim joy after so much struggle. May is her maid of honor, holding Aurora, who's dressed in a tiny silk gown and gurgling happily. Soren officiates, his voice solemn as he speaks of mate bonds and eternal love and the sacred responsibility of choosing someone for forever. When Lysander slides the wedding band next to the bloodstone ring, his hands shake slightly. When Alara does the same for him, she's crying. "I love you," he says as they're pronounced husband and wife. "For now and always." "For now and always," she echoes. They kiss as the sun sets outside the windows, painting the sky in shades of gold and red. And Alara thinks about the woman she was a year ago. Invisible, struggling, convinced her best years were behind her. She'd been so wrong. Sometimes the best years don't come when you're young and beautiful, and the world tells you they should. Sometimes they come later, hard-won and precious, when you've learned who you are and what you're worth. Sometimes they come when a vampire king looks at you across a crowded restaurant and sees not what you lack, but everything you are. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, they last forever. Aurora is 8 months old when Dante Volturi makes his move. Alara is in the penthouse nursery, rocking her daughter after a late-night feeding. Aurora's eyes are already closed, her tiny fist curled against Alara's chest, her breathing evening out into sleep. These quiet moments are Alara's favorite, just her and her miracle baby. The city lights twinkling beyond the windows, everything peaceful and safe. She doesn't hear the alarm system deactivate, doesn't sense the intruder until a cold hand clamps over her mouth from behind. "Don't scream," a woman's voice whispers. "I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to warn you." Alara's heart hammers against her ribs. Aurora stirs, whimpering, sensing her mother's distress. The hand releases and Alara spins around, clutching her daughter protectively. A vampire stands there, young-looking, maybe 20 in appearance, with auburn hair and frightened green eyes. "My name is Isabeau. I serve under Dante Volturi. He's planning something. Something terrible." "How did you get in here?" Alara demands, backing toward the door. "I'm a technomancer. I can manipulate electronic systems. But please, you have to listen. Dante is going to challenge Lysander tomorrow night at the Bloodline Summit. He's going to accuse him of breaking the ancient laws by creating a Dhampir heir without council approval." Alara's blood runs cold. What does that mean? It means trial by combat. If Lysander loses, Dante takes control of the Eastern bloodline. And you, Isabeau's voice breaks, he'll have you and Aurora killed. He sees you as abominations, threats to vampire purity. Why are you telling me this? Tears glitter in Isabeau's eyes. Because I've seen what Dante is. He's a monster. He's been planning this for months, training with ancient blood magic to make himself stronger. He's going to kill Lysander, and then he's going to kill you both. I couldn't just stand by and let it happen. The nursery door bursts open, and Lysander storms in, Soren right behind him. His eyes flash with fury when he sees Isabeau. "You! How dare you!" "She came to warn us," Alara cuts in quickly. "Lysander, Dante is going to challenge you tomorrow." The color drains from Lysander's face. Not fear for himself, Alara realizes. Fear for her and Aurora. "The Bloodline Summit," he says quietly. "Of course. Maximum audience, maximum humiliation if I refuse. You can't refuse, can you?" Alara's voice is steady, but inside she's screaming, "No. To refuse would be to admit weakness. The other bloodlines would see it as cowardice, and I'd lose their respect. Dante chose his moment well." Soren steps forward. "My lord, we should leave. Take your family somewhere safe. Running would be just as damaging as refusing." Lysander moves to Alara, gently touching Aurora's sleeping face. "And it would only delay the inevitable. Dante would hunt us. He'd never stop." "Then what do we do?" Alara asks. Lysander looks at her, and she sees the weight of 3 centuries in his eyes. "I fight. And I win." Isabeau speaks up hesitantly. "My lord, there's more. Dante has been using blood magic, dark rituals. He's consumed the essence of elder vampires to increase his strength. He's more powerful than he should be." "That's forbidden," Soren breathes. "If the council knew." They'd execute him, Lysander finishes, but only if we can prove it, and blood magic is notoriously difficult to detect. By the time anyone realizes what he's done, I'll be dead. The words hang in the air like a death sentence. Aurora makes a small sound in her sleep, and Alara holds her tighter. She's only had 8 months with this perfect little girl. 8 months of this beautiful life. It can't end. She won't let it. There has to be something we can do, she says. Some way to fight him. Lysander cups her face with both hands. Alara. No, don't you dare give me some noble goodbye speech. You promised me forever, Lysander Moreau. You don't get to break that promise now. His jaw clenches. I would give anything to keep you safe. Anything. An idea sparks in Alara's mind. Crazy. Impossible. But maybe. Turn me, she says. Everyone stares at her. Alara, no, Lysander says immediately. The transformation is too dangerous. You could die. I could also become strong enough to help you. Strong enough to protect Aurora if... She can't finish the sentence. You said I'm your mate. That means something, doesn't it? Some kind of power? The mate bond does strengthen both parties, Isabeau offers quietly, especially if completed through transformation. My lady, if you survived the turning, your bond with the king would make you both more formidable. It's too risky, Lysander insists. I won't lose you. You'll lose me anyway if Dante kills you. Alara's voice rises, and Aurora wakes with a startled cry. She rocks her daughter automatically, soothing her. Baby, it's okay. Mama's here. Everything's okay. But everything isn't okay. Everything is falling apart. Lysander takes Aurora from her arms, cradling the baby against his chest with practiced ease. Their daughter immediately calms, her tiny hand reaching up to touch her father's face. He closes his eyes like it hurts to breathe. If I turn you and you don't survive, he says softly, Aurora loses her mother. I can't. Alara, I can't be responsible for that. And if you fight Dante without every advantage and you die, she loses her father. We both lose you. Alara moves closer, placing her hand over his heart. I'm not some fragile thing you need to protect anymore. I'm a mother. I'm your mate. I'm strong enough for this. The transformation takes 3 days, Soren says. The summit is tomorrow night. There isn't time. Then we do it now. Ilara looks at Isabeau. You said Dante trained with blood magic for months. We have less than 24 hours to give Lysander an edge. The mate bond is the only option. Lysander stares at her, and she sees the moment he breaks. The moment he realizes she's right, as much as he hates it. If you die, he whispers, I won't survive it anyway. The bond will destroy me. Then we'd better make sure I don't die. She tries to smile, to be brave, but her hands are shaking. Besides, you promised me forever, remember? I'm going to hold you to that. He kisses her then, desperately, like he's trying to memorize the taste of her. Aurora squirms between them, protesting being squished, and they break apart with watery laughs. May needs to be here, Alara says. She should be with Aurora during the transformation. And she needs to know in case... Don't. Lysander hands Aurora back to her. Don't say goodbye. You're going to survive this. But his voice wavers, and Alara knows he's as terrified as she is. The next few hours pass in a blur. May arrives, her face white with shock when they explain everything. She holds Aurora while Alara records a video message, just in case. Just in case she doesn't wake up. Just in case this is the last time she gets to tell her daughters she loves them. You're the bravest person I know, May says, hugging her mother tightly. Both my parents are. Aurora is so lucky. Take care of your sister, Alara whispers. If something happens, nothing's going to happen. You're too stubborn to die. But May is crying, and Alara holds her like she did when May was small and afraid of thunderstorms. Then it's time. Lysander takes her to their bedroom, and suddenly Ilara is terrified. Not of dying, she's made peace with that risk, but of the pain, of the unknown, of leaving her babies alone. "I've got you," Lysander says, sensing her fear. "Every moment I've got you." He lays her on the bed, and his fangs extend. In the lamplight, they gleam like ivory daggers. "It will hurt," he warns. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Just do it, before I lose my nerve." He strikes fast, his fangs sinking into her throat. The pain is immediate and excruciating. Fire racing through her veins, burning away everything human. She tries to scream but can't find her voice. Her body convulses, back arching off the bed. Lysander pulls back and she sees her blood on his lips. He bites his own wrist, and dark red wells up. "Drink," he commands. "Ilara, drink from me." She latches onto his wrist, and his blood hits her tongue like liquid electricity. It tastes like copper and winter nights, and something wild and ancient. She drinks greedily, desperately, feeling at war with the fire in her veins. Then the pain truly begins. Her body is being torn apart and rebuilt at the cellular level. Every nerve screams. She's dimly aware of Lysander holding her, talking to her, begging her to hold on. Time loses meaning. There's only pain and darkness, and the distant sound of Aurora crying. "My baby," she thinks. "I have to survive for my baby." The bond with Lysander pulses between them, a golden thread pulling her back from the edge. She follows it through the agony, through the transformation, through the death of her humanity. She follows it home. After an eternity, the pain begins to ebb. Her heartbeat slows, until it's barely a whisper in her chest. Her body temperature drops, and then, like breaking through the surface of water, she opens her eyes. The world is different. Sharper. She can see every detail of Lysander's face, the individual flecks of gold in his eyes, the tiny lines at the corners from centuries of smiling. She can hear Aurora's heartbeat 3 rooms away, steady and strong. She can smell everything. Blood and fear and love and hope. "Ilara?" Lysander's voice is raw. "Can you hear me?" She sits up, and the movement is effortless, fluid in a way her 47-year-old body never was. "I can hear everything." Her voice sounds different, richer somehow. "Lysander, I can hear her heartbeat. Our daughter." He pulls her into his arms, and she realizes he's shaking. "You survived. Thank God, you survived." "How long?" 18 hours. The summit starts in 6 hours. He pulls back to look at her. "How do you feel?" She takes stock. Her body feels powerful, alive in a way it never has before. The constant ache in her lower back from years of waitressing is gone. The exhaustion that's been her companion since Aurora's birth has vanished. She feels strong. "I feel ready," she says. "Ready to fight for our family." The Bloodline Summit is held in a massive underground chamber beneath the city. Ilara walks in beside Lysander, wearing a gown of deep red silk that Soren insisted was appropriate for a vampire queen. Her transformation is obvious. Her skin is paler now, luminous, and her eyes glow with amber light. When they enter the chamber, every vampire present turns to stare. Dante Volturi stands at the center of the chamber, dressed in black, his smile predatory. "Lysander, I see you've brought your human pet." "She's not human anymore," Lysander says coldly. "And you will address her as Queen Ilara. Or you won't address her at all." Shock ripples through the assembled vampires. Dante's smile falters. "You turned her? That's even more desperate than I thought." "I didn't turn her for desperation. I turned her because she's my mate, and she deserves eternity." Lysander's voice carries absolute authority. "Now, I believe you have a challenge to make?" Dante's eyes narrow. "I challenge your right to rule the Eastern bloodline." You've broken ancient law by creating a Dhampir heir without council approval. You've weakened vampire bloodlines by mating with a human. Enough, Lysander cuts him off. We all know this isn't about laws. You want power. You've always wanted it. So stop hiding behind false righteousness and fight me. The chamber falls silent. Dante's mask of civility drops away, revealing the monster beneath. Gladly. And when I win, your mongrel child dies with you. Alara feels rage unlike anything she's ever experienced. Her new vampire instincts roar to life, demanding blood. Beside her, Lysander tenses. You won't touch my daughter, Alara says, her voice deadly quiet. You won't even speak her name. Dante laughs. And what will you do about it, newborn? You're barely vampire, still half human in your thoughts. You're nothing. She moves before she realizes she's moving, vampire speed carrying her across the chamber in a heartbeat. She grabs Dante by the throat and slams him against the stone wall hard enough to crack it. I'm a mother, she hisses, her fangs extending. I'm a queen, and I'm done being underestimated. The chamber erupts in shocked murmurs. Dante's eyes widen, not with fear, but with fury. He breaks her hold with supernatural strength and backhands her across the face. She hits the ground hard, tasting blood. Lysander roars, and the sound shakes the foundations. He attacks Dante with centuries of skill and rage, and suddenly the two ancient vampires are a blur of violence. They move too fast for even Alara's enhanced vision to fully track. But something's wrong. Dante is stronger than he should be. Faster. The blood magic Isabeau warned about. Alara can see it now, a darkness pulsing beneath his skin, unnatural power that makes him a match for Lysander. They're going to kill each other. And if they do, Aurora becomes an orphan. No, Alara won't allow it. She reaches for the bond between her and Lysander, that golden thread that pulled her through transformation. She pours her strength into it, everything she has. The bond flares bright, and suddenly she can feel what Lysander feels, sense where Dante will strike next. She sends the knowledge through the bond. Left, duck, now strike. Lysander responds instantly, moving with her guidance, their two minds working as one. He dodges Dante's strike and lands a devastating blow to Dante's ribs. The crack echoes through the chamber. Dante staggers back, shocked. What? You forgot something, Lysander says, breathing hard. Mates don't just strengthen each other. They become one. Two minds, two bodies, one purpose. Alara rises to her feet and stands beside her husband. Through the bond, she feels his love, his pride, his absolute faith in her. And she sends back the same. Together, they attack. It's not a fair fight anymore. Dante may have blood magic, but he's alone. Alara and Lysander move in perfect synchronization, anticipating each other's movements, covering each other's weaknesses. Where Lysander strikes, Alara defends. Where she attacks, he's already moving to the next position. They're a dance, a symphony, a force of nature. Dante fights desperately, but he's outmatched. Finally, Lysander gets behind him while Alara faces him front, and together they strike. Lysander's hands glow with power as he places them on Dante's temples, and Alara plunges her hand into Dante's chest, wrapping her fingers around his heart. Yield, Lysander commands. Dante goes still. Around them, the assembled vampires watch in absolute silence. You've lost, Alara says quietly. Yield, or die. For a long moment, Dante says nothing. Then, through clenched teeth, I yield. She releases his heart. Lysander removes his hands. Dante collapses to his knees, defeated. The chamber explodes in noise, some vampires cheering, others arguing. Celestine, the silver-haired bloodline leader, steps forward. The challenge is decided, she announces. Lysander Moreau retains his crown. and Dante Volturi will face judgment for his use of forbidden blood magic. Dante's head snaps up. You can't prove. We can, Isabeau says, stepping from the crowd. I have records, videos, testimonies from the vampires you drained. Everything. Dante's expression twists with hatred, but he says nothing. 2 guards step forward to take him into custody. Lysander turns to Alara, and his face is radiant. My queen, he says softly. My warrior mate. She kisses him in front of everyone, claiming him as thoroughly as he's claimed her, and when they break apart, the assembled vampires bow. All of them. Even the other bloodline leaders. Long live King Lysander, Celestine calls out. Long live Queen Alara. The chamber echoes with the chant. Long live the king. Long live the queen. Later, back in the penthouse, Alara holds Aurora, while May hovers anxiously nearby. Her daughter, both her daughters are safe. Her family is whole. You're different, May observes, studying her mother's face. Not just the vampire thing. You look powerful. I feel powerful. Alara rocks Aurora, who's staring up at her with those knowing amber eyes. I feel like I can protect you both now. Really protect you. Lysander enters the room, and the bond between them hums with contentment. He sits beside Alara, his arm around her shoulders. Dante will be executed next week, he says quietly. The council was unanimous. Using blood magic and threatening a Dhampir heir, both capital offenses. Good. Alara feels no pity for the man who wanted her daughter dead. And the other bloodlines have formally recognized you as Queen of the Eastern Bloodline. You have a seat on the Grand Council now, equal authority to mine. He kisses her temple. You've accomplished in 2 days what some vampires don't accomplish in centuries. I had good motivation. She looks down at Aurora, who's falling asleep in her arms. The best motivation. May clears her throat. So, does this mean I'm a vampire princess? Lysander grins. Technically, yes, though you're still human, so... Can you turn me too? When I'm older? May's eyes are bright with excitement. I mean, if Aurora's going to live for centuries, I want to be around too. Someone has to keep her out of trouble. Alara meets Lysander's gaze, and they share a silent conversation through the bond. Why not? If May chooses it, when she's ready. We'll talk about it when you graduate college, Alara says. Focus on your biochemistry degree first. Fair enough. May leans over to kiss Aurora's forehead. Did you hear that, baby sister? You're stuck with me forever. Aurora makes a gurgling sound that might be agreement. That night, after May has left and Aurora is asleep in her nursery, Alara and Lysander stand at the window overlooking the city. His arms encircle her waist, and she leans back against his chest. Forever is a long time, she says softly. Not long enough, he replies, echoing his words from months ago. She turns in his arms, looking up at this ancient, powerful being who chose her, who sees her, who loves her. I was invisible for so long, she murmurs. And now I'm a vampire queen. How did this become my life? Because you were never invisible. You were just surrounded by people who were too blind to see you. He cups her face with infinite tenderness. I saw you, Alara, from that very first night, and I will spend eternity making sure you never doubt your worth again. She kisses him, pouring centuries of tomorrows into it. When they break apart, she's smiling. Good, she says. Because I'm holding you to that promise, Lysander Moreau. Forever and always. Forever and always, he echoes. And in the nursery down the hall, their daughter sleeps, dreaming of all the tomorrows waiting for her, protected by a mother who fought death itself to stay with her, and a father who would burn the world to keep her safe. Some fairy tales begin with once upon a time. Others begin with a woman standing in a bathroom, making an impossible choice. And some, the best ones, begin when that woman decides she's worth fighting for. This is that kind of fairy tale, and it's only just beginning.